Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they never realize that belief is already deciding their life for them. Before you take action, before you hesitate, before you give up or push forward, belief has already whispered what you think is possible for you. And the most dangerous part is this: you don't hear it as belief. You hear it as truth, that quiet inner voice telling you what you deserve, what you're capable of, and where you belong, has been shaping your choices long before you were aware of it. Once you understand this, you can no longer live the same way again. Belief is not a soft idea or a comforting thought. It is the silent command center behind every outcome you experience. Long before action is taken, long before words are spoken, belief has already decided what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you think is possible for you. Most people never realize this because belief works quietly, beneath awareness, shaping choices so subtly that it feels like life just happened. But nothing just happens. Every ceiling you've hit, every cycle you repeat, every door you never even tried to open was filtered through what you believed was possible for you, often without your consent. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. The most dangerous beliefs are not the loud ones, they are the inherited ones. The beliefs you absorbed from childhood, from culture, from disappointment, from moments when you tried once and failed and quietly decided that this is not for you. These beliefs don't shout, they whisper. They say things like, be realistic, people like us don't get that, or this is just how life is. Over time, these whispers become laws you never question, and you don't fight for what you believe you're not allowed to have. You don't chase what you've already decided is out of reach. Belief doesn't just influence your actions, it determines which actions never even occur to you. Here is the truth most people never confront. Your mind does not respond to truth, it responds to belief. Two people can face the same circumstance, same background, same opportunity, same challenge, and experience completely different outcomes. One moves forward, the other freezes. One adapts, the other collapses. The difference is not intelligence or luck. It is what each one believes about themselves in that moment. Belief acts like a lens. It doesn't change reality. It changes how much of reality you are willing to see and step into. And the mind will always find evidence to support whatever belief you hold, even if that belief is quietly destroying you. Belief is also the reason motivation alone never lasts. Motivation is emotional. Belief is structural. You can feel inspired for a day, a week, even a month, but if your belief system hasn't changed, you will eventually return to old patterns. This is why people sabotage themselves right before a breakthrough. Their belief about who they are cannot coexist with the results they are approaching. So the mind pulls them back to what feels familiar, not what is better. The comfort zone is not comfortable because it feels good. It's comfortable because it matches your identity. And belief is the architect of identity. What you believe about yourself determines how you interpret pain. For one person, pain is proof they should stop. For another, it is confirmation they are becoming stronger. The pain itself is neutral. It is belief that assigns meaning, and meaning dictates behavior. This is why some people rise through adversity while others are buried by it. Not because one suffers less, but because one believes suffering has a purpose. When belief changes, endurance changes, discipline changes, vision changes. Suddenly, obstacles no longer feel like stop signs, they feel like instructions. Belief also controls your relationship with time. When you don't believe in yourself, everything feels urgent and heavy. You rush, you panic, you compare, you feel behind. But when belief is rooted, time becomes an ally. You move with patience. You build without desperation. You understand that growth is not loud, it is layered. Strong belief creates calm urgency, not frantic motion. It allows you to work in silence without needing validation, because you are no longer trying to convince the world. You've already convinced yourself. This is the moment most people miss. Belief is not something you wait to feel. It is something you decide to practice. No one wakes up one day suddenly confident unshakable and certain. Belief is trained through repetition, through choosing thoughts that align with the future you want rather than the past you survived. Every time you act in alignment with a stronger belief, even when doubt is present, you weaken the old identity. And slowly, almost invisibly, your inner world reorganizes itself around a new standard of what is possible for you. Belief is not an abstract idea floating in the background of your thoughts. It is a living system inside your mind, quietly directing attention, memory, emotion, and behavior all at once. The brain is constantly filtering reality, deciding what to notice and what to ignore, and belief is the filter it trusts most. When you believe something is possible, your mind begins to scan for pathways, solutions, and patterns that support that belief. When you believe something is impossible, your mind does the opposite. It protects you by narrowing your vision, limiting risk, and reinforcing avoidance. This is not weakness, it is survival. The problem begins when survival beliefs remain active long after danger has passed. Every belief you hold has been reinforced through repetition, emotion, or experience. The mind remembers what carries emotional weight. A single painful failure can outweigh dozens of quiet successes if that failure was emotionally charged. Over time, the mind builds a story around those moments and calls it truth. But the mind does not distinguish between what is true and what is familiar. It only recognizes what has been repeated often enough to feel safe. This is why people stay loyal to beliefs that keep them small. They are familiar, predictable, and emotionally known. Growth requires stepping into uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers resistance, even when it leads to freedom. Belief also determines how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. The internal dialogue running through your mind is not random, it is belief made audible. If your self-talk is harsh, doubtful, or dismissive, it's not because you're broken, it's because you learned to speak to yourself that way. And every time that voice goes unchallenged, it strengthens the belief beneath it. But when you interrupt that voice, not with false positivity, but with grounded truth, you begin to loosen the grip of old programming. The goal is not to silence doubt, to stop letting it lead. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you realize belief shapes emotional endurance. People who believe they are capable do not experience less fear. They experience fear without obeying it. Fear loses authority when belief grows stronger. You stop asking, what if this goes wrong, and start asking, what will happen if I don't try? That shift alone changes the trajectory of a life, because the pain of regret eventually outweighs the discomfort of effort. And belief helps you endure the delay between effort and reward, the space where most people quit. Belief also rewires how the nervous system responds to challenge. When belief is weak, challenges feel threatening. The body tightens, the mind races, stress becomes overwhelming. But when belief is stable, challenges are processed differently. The body stays grounded, the mind stays focused. Stress becomes information, not danger. This is why some people perform best under pressure. They believe pressure is a signal of importance, not a warning of failure. The same circumstance, the same stakes, but a completely different internal response. Here is the truth rarely spoken. Belief does not require evidence first. Evidence follows belief. Every major shift in your life will begin internally before it becomes visible externally. You act differently, you speak differently, you tolerate less, you attempt more, and eventually reality reorganizes itself around those new behaviors. Outsiders call it luck or confidence, but what they are seeing is an alignment between belief, action, and persistence. When belief changes, effort stops feeling forced. Discipline becomes self-respect. Consistency becomes identity. The mind resists belief change because belief change threatens identity. If you begin to believe you are capable, you must also release the comfort of excuses. If you believe you are worthy, you must stop accepting less. And that transition can feel uncomfortable, lonely, and destabilizing. But discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that your internal structure is being rebuilt. Belief does not collapse quietly. It shifts in waves, often bringing emotional turbulence before clarity arrives. This is not failure, this is reorganization. Belief becomes truly powerful the moment it stops being a thought and starts becoming an identity. At first, belief feels like effort. You remind yourself, you repeat, you consciously choose better thoughts, but over time, something subtle happens. The repetition reshapes how you see yourself, and once belief becomes identity, behavior no longer requires motivation. You act in alignment because acting otherwise would feel unnatural. This is the moment momentum is born, not from force, but from self-consistency. Momentum is not speed, momentum is direction sustained over time. People often confuse the two and burn themselves out trying to move fast without stabilizing belief. But when belief is rooted, even slow progress compounds. Small actions feel meaningful. Delays don't feel like failure. You stop measuring success by how quickly results appear and start measuring it by how consistently you show up. And that shift alone eliminates most self-sabotage, because when belief is stable, quitting feels more uncomfortable than continuing. Identity is reinforced by what you do repeatedly, especially when no one is watching. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, belief strengthens. Every time you break one, belief weakens. This is why discipline is not about control, it is about trust. Trusting yourself again, rebuilding the relationship between intention and action, and belief grows fastest when actions are small enough to be repeatable, but meaningful enough to carry weight. The mind doesn't need grand gestures, it needs proof, and proof comes from consistency. This is also where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. As momentum builds, fear doesn't disappear, it changes form. Instead of fear of starting, it becomes fear of sustaining, fear of visibility, fear of responsibility, fear of becoming someone who can no longer hide behind old excuses. And so people delay, distract, or destabilize their progress without realizing why. They say they're tired, they say they need a break, but underneath it all is an identity conflict. If I succeed, who will I have to become? Belief threatens the comfort of the familiar self. Belief-driven momentum also changes how you relate to others. You stop needing approval, you stop explaining yourself, you stop shrinking to fit into spaces that no longer reflect who you are becoming. This can feel isolating at first. Growth often is, but belief teaches you that alignment matters more than acceptance. And as your energy shifts, you naturally attract people, opportunities and environments that reinforce your new identity rather than challenge it. Another critical shift occurs when belief teaches patience without passivity. You no longer rush outcomes, but you also don't sit still. You understand that progress is happening even when results are not yet visible. Roots grow before branches, structure forms before expansion, and belief allows you to stay grounded during that unseen phase. This is where most people give up, not because nothing is happening, but because nothing is showing yet. Belief keeps you steady in the invisible work. As momentum continues, belief reshapes your standards. You tolerate less chaos, you protect your energy. You become selective with your time, your focus, and your emotional investments, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. You know what you are building now, and you understand that everything you allow either supports it or drains it. This is not restriction, it is refinement. Belief refines your life by removing what no longer aligns. Eventually, belief reaches a point where effort feels purposeful rather than exhausting. You still work, you still face resistance, but it no longer feels like you are fighting yourself. Inner friction fades, direction sharpens, and this is when belief becomes self-reinforcing. The more you act in alignment, the stronger belief becomes, the more natural aligned action feels. This loop is where transformation accelerates, not suddenly, but steadily. Belief reveals its true power when progress slows, plans unravel, or life delivers outcomes you didn't prepare for. Anyone can believe when results are visible, but belief that endures during uncertainty is what separates temporary growth from permanent transformation. When belief is weak, setbacks feel personal. When belief is strong, setbacks feel instructional. The event doesn't change, the meaning does. and meaning determines whether you break or build. Setbacks often attack belief indirectly. They don't say you should quit. They say, see, this always happens. They revive old narratives, old doubts, old emotional memories that once convinced you to shrink. The mind searches backward during disappointment, not forward, but belief interrupts this pattern by reminding you that progress is rarely linear. A pause is not a reversal. A delay is not a denial. Belief holds this perspective when emotion tries to distort it. Strong belief changes how you interpret failure. Failure stops being a verdict and becomes feedback. It shows you where structure is weak, where focus drifted, where alignment slipped. Instead of collapsing inward, belief pushes curiosity outward. What is this teaching me? What needs adjusting? That question alone keeps you in motion. Belief gives you dignity during difficult seasons. You stop broadcasting your struggles. You regulate emotion instead of suppressing it. Pain becomes a chapter, not the story. Belief protects your nervous system during uncertainty, allowing the body to stay grounded instead of reactive. Stress becomes information, not danger. Belief prevents bitterness. Without it, hardship hardens into resentment. With it, hardship becomes preparation, not punishment. Preparation. You stay open without becoming naive. You learn without becoming cynical. Belief shortens recovery time. You don't stay down rehearsing what went wrong. You assess, adjust, and re-engage. You understand that one moment does not define the entire journey. And belief teaches you how to wait without quitting, how to stand still without losing faith in motion. Belief is the invisible force behind discipline. When belief is weak, discipline feels like punishment. When belief is strong, discipline feels like alignment. You stop asking if you feel like it and start asking if this is who you are. Habits lock in when belief catches up to behavior. Temptation loses power when it no longer fits your identity. Decision-making becomes simpler. Energy becomes protected. Consistency becomes natural. Belief allows you to forgive imperfection without abandoning standards. You recalibrate instead of collapsing. Discipline becomes self-respect. Routine becomes ritual. How you live your days becomes how you shape your life. At a certain point, belief stops being something you work on and starts being something you live from. You move with internal authority. You trust your direction without needing validation. You guard belief intentionally. You choose alignment over noise. Belief matures into humility, confidence without arrogance, flexibility without self-doubt. Success no longer feels like relief. It feels like confirmation. You're not surprised by progress. You receive it calmly. You trust yourself to handle uncertainty. You don't need to see the entire path. You trust yourself to walk it. Belief is not about pretending everything will work out. It's about knowing you will handle whatever doesn't. It's the quiet decision to keep showing up, refining and choosing alignment over fear. And once belief is embodied, not imagined, nothing external needs to change for you to know you are already moving forward.